All right, I tell you what, it is awfully cold out here this morning. As you know, we have these ongoing frost advisories for our inland communities. But even in the cities this morning, it is mighty chilly. And areas like Fort Myers are actually in record-breaking territory here over the next couple of hours. Now, I tell you what, it has been a while since we've been this cool. And to show you how to put that into perspective, I wanted to use jelly beans, all right? So in the next little demonstration, every blue jelly bean I show you represents a record cold temperature that Fort Myers has observed in the last 5 years. And every red jelly bean I'm about to show you represents a record high temperature that's been hit in the city of Fort Myers since 2015. All right, so going back over the past 5 years, Fort Myers has been able to record 7 record cold temperatures. And you actually probably remember a few of these days, as one of these dates would be September 10th, 2017. That, of course, was the day that Hurricane Irma hit us. That kept temperatures in the mid-70s, which was a record cold daytime high temperature for the city of Fort Myers on that date. Now, to put things in perspective, again, going back the past 5 years, all of these red jelly beans represents a record high temperature that has been observed in the city of Fort Myers going back to 2015. By comparison, we have had 188 record high temperatures set just since 2015, compared to only 7 record cold temperatures. That ought to really open your eyes and put things into perspective climate-wise, how things have been changing over the past 5 years. But it really underscores how remarkable today's weather is. This is what we're close to, the very exclusive club, something we've only been able to do 7 times over the past 5 years. All right, I'm freezing out here. Let's take our graphics full and see where those numbers are at right now. Have you ever noticed in Florida that when we see patchy frost, it tends to form on the hood of your car? Well, I tell you what, I have a way that I can explain it with a fun project using a tin can your kids are going to love when they get home from school today. What you need for it, today at 3 on NBC2. When it's cold enough, those tiny droplets of water form into a thin layer of ice that we would call frost. Now, there's a fun way you can explain this to your kids, not by using their toys, but instead using a simple tin can, just like this. Now, in our experiment, we're going to fill our can with some crushed ice, cool water, and salt. The salt is important here because it lowers the melting point of the ice. That pulls heat away from the can and cools it down, just like the hood of your car does when it's cold outside. Now, notice what happens on the outside of the can when you give it some time. Eventually, a layer of frost actually appears, just like what can happen outside on your car when it's cold enough in Florida. The next time you whip up a batch of muffins or cookies for your family, there's actually a way you can relate that to how hurricanes form. In order to form some great looking muffins, I have to have all the ingredients, I have to bake them at the right temperature, and I have to bake them at the right time. To form a hurricane, I have to have all 4 of these ingredients, all 4 things you should listen to when you watch NBC2 throughout hurricane season. It's about the size of a small regional jet, so you know when you think about a rock that big, it's pretty big, but it is going to pass by Earth on a distance of more than 600,000 miles, so close enough for NASA to consider it to be a near-Earth asteroid. So as that one flies away, let's talk about the bigger of the 2 asteroids. This one is called asteroid 2021 KT1. Now, if you were to pretend that you and I got inside that jet that just took off from the studio and we flew to New York City, the reason we would fly to New York City is to check out the Statue of Liberty. Because if you and I climbed from the very bottom of the Statue of Liberty all the way to the very, very top, up to the top of the torch, well, that is a height way up here of about 305 feet tall. If you were to double it, put 2 Statues of Liberty together, that would give you better perspective on exactly how big asteroid 2021 KT1 is, because it's about 600 feet wide. Well, it is 3:15, and it's time to talk about what's on Rob's radar. And today we are hitting the road and getting some fresh air by exploring the trails on the Florida Panther National Wildlife Refuge. This is a beautiful swath of more than 26,000 acres just north of Alligator Alley in Collier County. It's critical territory for the survival of the endangered Florida panther, and there's no better place to learn about this native animal than right here where they roam. The trails are open to you from sunrise to sundown every day. Occasionally, the refuge hosts free guided nature hikes. The first one for this year is tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. But if that's too early for you to take a 3-hour hike on a Saturday, don't worry. The refuge is working to put together pop-up ranger days in the future where officials will be around to answer questions about the trails. That'll give you more time and more space to appreciate this beautiful place. Palm trees are arguably our area's most beautiful plant. But did you know there's some debate as to whether palm trees are even trees at all? This sign on Fort Myers Beach says the coconut palm is in the grass family and it's not even related to trees. So for some clarity on this issue, I reached out to the palm tree expert, Dr. Jay Horn of FGCU.
I teach botany courses, including Flora of Southwest Florida.
Yep, he literally teaches the class about plants in our community. And he says where you fall on this debate depends on how you define the word tree.
There are some botanists that would consider trees only those plants of tree stature that actually develop true wood.
You're hearing this right. Instead of the hardwood made by oaks or magnolias, palm trees are more like pineapples made up of fibers helping it stand upright. And some can grow up to almost 200 feet tall. And remember, you can tell how old a tree is by the number of rings it produces. Palms don't do this, so it's tougher to figure out their age.
That's a good question. We have to extrapolate basically from palms that are in cultivation. And because palms are such striking plants, they've been planted in landscapes now for centuries. The oldest palms that are known are some that are planted in Brazil, and these are royal palms or royal palm relatives that are over 200 years old.
So though there is some debate as to exactly what they are, it's probably fair to say we can all enjoy them for their beauty, regardless of what they're called. On Newton Beach Park, meteorologist Rob Duns, NBC2.